strap in and get ready for one of the coolest hidden gems in animated TV. Motorcity takes you to a futuristic Detroit ruled by the evil billionaire Abraham Kane, who has banned cars, trees, pets, and even real food. The only hope lies with a group of rebels called the Burners, led by Mike Chilton. Using their super futuristic cars, they fight to protect Motorcity, the last underground oasis of freedom. With stunning comic-style graphics that perfectly match the cyberpunk vibe, this show is a visual treat. It's a shame Disney canceled it, just like so many other great shows. Still, it deserves to be remembered. With that, let's get into it. Mike and Chuck venture deep into Motorcity to retrieve a fusion battery that will power the East Side Gate. As they move through the tunnels, they avoid live wires and mutant rats, and soon they discover an abandoned shop filled with auto parts, including the battery itself. While they admire the haul, Mike notices a skull accessory stuck in the debris, but at that very moment, Julie contacts him. She warns that the East Side Gate has already shut down, so Kane's forces are preparing to storm it. Because of this, Mike and Chuck hurry back with the battery, yet Mike decides to grab the skull, which causes the entire shop to collapse. Even so, they escape and race to the gate, where Kane appears as a hologram and declares war on Motorcity. Then he releases an Ultra Golem, so the Burners engage in battle while Mike reactivates the gate. Afterwards, he slices off the golem's head, but it transforms into a smaller robot, which he defeats. Later, back at the garage, Kane exposes Mike's past as a cadet. Although shaken, Mike insists on facing Kane, and therefore the Burners set off for Detroit Deluxe, ready for the fight ahead. Julie uses her ties to Caneco Tower to investigate, and she soon discovers that Kane's announcement is nothing more than a trap for Mike. Although she tries to warn the Burners, Mike ignores her and goes after Kane. However, the Kane he meets turns out to be a hologram, and the Burners are suddenly ambushed by robots and trapped inside pods. With them contained, Kane declares to everyone that Mike has abandoned Motorcity, claiming victory and promising to enslave its citizens. Meanwhile, Julie attempts to free her friends but is caught by her father, who is thrilled to see his daughter during his moment of triumph. Although she pleads with him to stop, Kane rages and refuses to listen. Inside the pods, Mike blames himself for failing, yet Chuck reassures him that he still has the power to save them. Desperate, Julie tricks Thule into giving her the security code, and the Burners are freed. Mike finally faces Kane, but instead of fighting, he chooses to return home, realizing Motorcity matters most. Together, the Burners outsmart Kane's robots, and Mike defeats Kane in battle, restoring peace. Mike and Chuck test Mutt's new weapon, the Blastosaurus. Mike insists it should be stronger, but Chuck argues it is already powerful enough. Next, they try out the supercharger, and Mike prepares to attempt the infamous Detroit Doom Jump, a massive cliff no one has ever cleared. However, Chuck bails out, and Julie calls Mike before he can take the risk. Back at HQ, the Burners receive a distress call from Caneco Tower's R&D department. Dutch warns it may be a trap, but Julie believes it is real, so Mike decides they must investigate despite Chuck's protests. Meanwhile, in Deluxe, Kane plays tennis with a scientist who warns the project is unstable. Kane insists it must remain that way to wipe out Motorcity and assigns Dr. Hudson to lead it. Ignoring Chuck's concerns and Dutch's offer to upgrade weapons, Mike pushes ahead. Using an idea sparked by Texas, the Burners hijack an enforcer drone to sneak inside. There, they learn about Kane's unstable power core, but are soon caught and sent toward remanufacturing. The Burners escape the shrink ray by rebuilding the enforcer drone into a small go-kart, and they race through Caneco Tower toward the R&D labs. Although chased by more Kane bots, they manage to rescue Dr. Hudson and escape to Motorcity. At the garage, Jacob is shocked to see his former student with the Burners and nearly attacks him, but Mike steps in. Jacob angrily recalls how Hudson stayed loyal to Kane, which fuels his distrust. Meanwhile, Kane is furious about Hudson's kidnapping, yet he quickly realizes the unstable core can be tracked through its energy signal and orders Thule to release the robotic hounds. Back at HQ, Jacob lashes out when he learns Hudson helped build the core, warning the burners not to trust him. However, Mike argues Hudson deserves a chance since Kane also deceived him. Tension grows as Hudson urges them to keep the core safe, while Mike considers using it as a weapon. Their debate ends abruptly when the hounds attack. Determined to fight, Mike seizes the core and charges into battle, though the burners soon realize these bots are far more dangerous than before. Mike tries powering Mutt with the core, but the unstable energy nearly wipes out a city block. Realizing the danger, he removes it, only for a hound to smash in and steal it. The struggle cracks the container, triggering a meltdown until Hudson intervenes. He and Jacob propose siphoning the energy into Mutt's engine, and to Mike's surprise, Chuck agrees. With the core's power, Mutt reaches incredible speeds, but the enhanced hound returns. After a tough fight, the burners take it down with explosive fuel tanks. To finish the job, Mike attempts the Detroit Doom Jump to burn out the core. Chuck shocks everyone by trusting Mike and insisting they make the jump. It nearly fails, but ejecting the engine triggers an explosion that saves them, though Mutt is totaled. The hound survives and reports back to Kane, who rages at the loss. Back in HQ, Hudson joins the team, Jacob gets a new target for his cooking, and Mike shows Chuck the rebuilt Mutt. Despite Chuck's nerves, the two speed off once again. The burners and Claire relax by Lake Erie, where the burners test their raft on a massive twisting water slide. Although they argue about tactics, Mike manages to guide them, and they make the final jump into the lake. However, their fun ends quickly when the temperature suddenly drops, freezing the entire lake. From the shore, they watch as the unnatural cold spreads into the city. Kane then appears on broadcast, announcing that he will freeze all of Motorcity. He says only those who surrender and join Deluxe will survive. The burners set out to stop his machine, but this means leaving a disappointed Claire behind at HQ. Mike, noticing Chuck's crush on her, assigns him to stay and work on the big computer deal, giving him an excuse to stay with her. At Kane Tower, Kane gloats to Thule about enslaving the Motorcity refugees. Meanwhile, Claire listens to Chuck explain algorithms and Jacob show off his oil can collection, though she remains unimpressed. Out in the frozen streets, the burners find the weather machine, but when Mike attacks it, it carries him away. Separated from his team, Mike wakes in a snowdrift, and as he struggles through the blizzard, he spots a distant light. Texas storms back and demands to know why no one followed him. Dutch explains that nobody wants him as leader and shows his own plan, but Texas mocks it, and the two start fighting. Chuck tries to suggest tracking Mike with math, yet both ignore him. Their arguing only stops when Julie finds a piece of the weather machine in the snow, pointing out the path to Mike. Meanwhile, Mike reaches a light that turns out to be an abandoned Kane Co. camp. Before he can leave, Kane Co. soldiers capture him and handcuff him inside a tent. They demand to know where the burners are, but Mike refuses to talk. The soldiers leave Thule to guard him, and Mike provokes him until Thule lashes out. His wild swings knock out the soldiers, and Mike escapes, only to be buried by a snowdrift. Luckily, the burners dig him out and bring him back to Mutt. At Kane Tower, Thule reports his failure. Furious, Kane takes direct control of the weather machine and creates tornadoes. One lifts Mutt into the air, but Mike leaps aboard and guides the burners out of the storm. Working together at last, they form a plan. Whiptail and Mutt capture Lightning. Julie distracts the machine with holograms. Texas rams it open, and Mike and Dutch fry its core, destroying it. Back at HQ, Dutch is relieved. Texas claims he should be second in command, and Claire calls Chuck the least weird thing in Motorcity. Finally, the burners celebrate by sledding down the frozen water slide. Texas imagines himself as the hero who storms Kane Co. Tower, saving the burners along the way. In his fantasy, even Mike admits he should have realized how awesome Texas was sooner. The daydream ends with Texas defeating Kane's snake gun and finishing him with the Texas Twister, a spinning kick that sends Kane flying out a window. The scene cuts to Jacob's grocery store, where Texas is acting this out using Jacob's tomatoes as props. Mike humors him by saying he'll put that idea in his back pocket. Frustrated, Texas complains that Mike always says that and insists sometimes you just need to Texasify things. Jacob, meanwhile, is furious about his ruined tomatoes. Later, the burners wait on a rooftop for a Kane-Co waste disposal bot known as a toxo tank. Texas wants to charge in, but Mike insists this is not the time. Before Texas can act, wrapping the tank in vines and stopping it cold, the burners look up to see a strange group of masked warriors riding massive white deer. These warriors capture the burners and bring them to their home, a sprawling forest of towering mutant mushrooms at the edge of Motorcity. They reveal themselves as the Terra, led by Kaya, who shares their hatred of Kane. She explains how Kane's toxic waste mutated their land and people, forcing them to fight back with living plant weapons. Texas pushes for a bigger plan, and surprisingly, Kaya agrees to Texasify it. Dutch works on welding the captured toxo tanks while Kaya discusses the safest way to reach the surface without being spotted. Chuck asks how they'll get more tanks, and soon a montage plays of Texas and the Terras teaming up to take down several Kane-Co machines. Texas starts to earn the respect of the Terra villagers. Later, Mike spots two Terra scientists mixing strange chemicals and whispering that this batch is stronger than the last. When he asks about Kaya's whereabouts, they brush him off, which makes him suspicious. He warns the burners that something feels off. That night, Kaya pulls Mike aside, saying she needs his help. At the same time, Dutch, Julie, and Chuck spy on a Terra villager dumping chemicals into the forest. Chuck collects a sample to study. Kaya takes Mike on a mission to find moss high up in the forest canopy. She and her soldiers trick him onto a weak branch, causing him to fall. Believing he's dead, they leave, but Mike survives and rushes back. Meanwhile, Chuck's analysis shows the chemical is a fast-growing, dangerous vine. Mike demands they pack up and leave, warning the Terras tried to kill him. Texas refuses, claiming Mike is just jealous. Their fight is cut short when the vine sample escapes and nearly devours Chuck before Jacob burns it. The burners realize Kaya plans to unleash the spores on Deluxe. When Kaya arrives, Mike ends their alliance. She responds with a spore grenade, but Jacob's weed killer saves them. Meanwhile, Texas unknowingly leads the Terras toward Deluxe with the spore-filled tanks. Outside the waste plant, Kaya and the Terras draw a ring of salt to shield themselves before releasing their weapon. The moment the toxo tanks open, the spores burst out and lash at everything. Buildings, streets, even innocent civilians nearby. Texas is shocked when he sees Kaya make no difference between Kane's forces and ordinary people, but her soldiers grab him before he can act. Just then, the burners arrive, their cars now armed with weed killer sprayers. Kaya rages, and the Terras counter with more plant grenades, forcing the burners back. Texas breaks free and unleashes his gunchucks, cutting through the vines and freeing his friends. Mike orders the burners to protect the civilians while he and Texas charge at Kaya, but her soldiers block them, knocking Texas's weapons away. Mike fights Kaya's sergeant and rips off his mask, revealing twisted mutations. Kaya then removes her own mask, showing the scars Kane left on her. She insists that their revenge is justified, but Mike shouts that the innocent people of Deluxe had nothing to do with Kane's crimes. The Terras prepare to kill them anyway. At that moment, Texas admits Mike was right. Mike grins and says the Texas Twister would come in handy now. Delighted, Texas joins him, and together they take down Kaya. Still, the plants keep spreading until Texas spots the Terra's salt tanker. With Stronghorn's help, they spin it into a massive explosion of salt, wiping out the vines. Kaya and the Terras slip away in the chaos, but Mike knows they'll face her again. Texas, however, is already cooking up another wild plan, leaving the burners groaning in exasperation. The burners rush to meet Rayon from the Skylarks, barely making it in time thanks to Mike's quick driving. They hand over a custom part and receive a block of titanium as payment. Before they can relax, Canebots attack, forcing the burners into battle. Mike orders Dutch to take the lead, but Whiptail is destroyed, shocking him. Texas saves Dutch, but the scare makes Mike overly protective. His reckless decisions soon separate the team, though they manage to defeat the bots and regroup in a junkyard. Chuck confirms Texas and Dutch are safe, but Julie confronts Mike for holding everyone back. Tension rises until they're approached by stylish strangers who lead them to the Duke of Detroit. Meanwhile, Texas decorates Stronghorn with Canebot parts, ignoring Dutch's warning to stay low. In the Duke's mansion, the Burners learn he is an eccentric car collector angry that their battle damaged his restorations. He insults Mike's car and demands respect, but Mike refuses his humiliating request. The Burners walk out, though the Duke secretly plots revenge. Later at Antonio's, Mike vents about the Duke while Julie insists they were lucky to escape. Suddenly, the Electroblades, a hockey-themed gang, ambush them. The Burners fight back and flee, only to reunite with Texas and Dutch. The gang turns on Stronghorn, but Mike intervenes and the Burners narrowly escape again. Realizing they've been identified, they retreat to the Skylark Motel to lay low. While polishing one of his limos, the Duke learns the Electroblades failed. Annoyed, he calls every Motorcity gang and offers a bounty on the Burners. At the motel, Rayon warns the Burners about the price on their heads, but secretly betrays them. That night, Mike notices headlights outside and the Burners rush out to find gangs like the Mama's Boys, Amazons, and Weekend Warriors, along with the Duke, ready to capture them. During the chase, Mike's need to shield the team backfires, slowing them down. Frustrated, the others finally tell him to trust them as equals. Mike relents, and together they shake off the gangs, until the Duke blocks them with a giant limo tank. He captures everyone except Mike and threatens to sell them to Kane. When the gangs demand their payment, the Duke refuses, claiming full credit. Locked in the Duke's mansion, Chuck crafts a lockpick for Julie. Texas is asked to create a distraction but panics, forcing Dutch into the spotlight. He resists until Julie kicks him, sparking enough chaos for her to disable the alarms. Soon, the Burners escape, stealing the Duke's cars in the process. Outside, gangs surround the mansion. Mike bargains with the Duke, offering the cars in exchange for his friends. Impressed by Mike's guts, the Duke agrees, though he eyes Mutt greedily. In a flashback, Mike wakes up in Deluxe and prepares for duty, just as Kane reminds him it's his big day. Jumping to the present, the Burners mark Mike's one-year anniversary in Motor City. While the others celebrate, Mike avoids the spotlight, and before they can insist, a new mission pulls them away. Jacob offers his bizarre okra mayonnaise muffins, which Chuck reluctantly eats while driving with Mike. At the Opera House, Canebots are on the attack. The Burners jump in, but a mysterious fighter suddenly appears and wipes out the remaining bots. When Mike approaches, the stranger pins him against Mutt. Texas charges in but is quickly defeated, forcing Mike into a brutal fight atop the cars. The attacker nearly wins before Chuck manages to take him down. The Burners are shaken and curious. Mike recognizes the insignia on his uniform. Meanwhile, they also discover the bots left behind a strange egg. Back at the garage, Chuck, Dutch, and Texas investigate, with Texas convinced it's a deadly trap. Mike is haunted by memories of being made a commander under Kane. Suddenly, the egg bursts open into a swarm of tiny metal-eating mites. They devour Dutch's tools, attack Roth, then slip away through a crack. Chuck realizes Kane plans to unleash them on Motor City's metal infrastructure, giving him complete control. At Kane Co. Tower, the mystery fighter, calling himself Red, defeats Kane's cadets. Kane offers him an alliance to destroy Mike, but Red refuses, vowing to handle Mike his own way. The Burners set out to track the swarm of robot mites. Jacob is thrilled Chuck keeps eating his muffins, though Chuck admits he can't stop even though they taste awful. They soon find the mites chewing through a building, but weapons prove useless. Mike orders the team to herd them with lasers, only for Red to appear in a custom car. He taunts Mike, saying he's weak without Deluxe, sparking another flashback of Kane lecturing him on loyalty and leadership. Red nearly destroys Mike and Chuck with harpoons, but the Burners save them. Red vanishes again, and the mites slip away too. The team uncovers more eggs, and Dutch figures out how to deactivate them. Mike decides to hunt Red with Texas, leaving Julie in charge of the mites. They visit the Duke for answers, but he brushes them off, worried only about his iron stash and limos. As they leave, Mike discovers Mutt has been tagged with Red's insignia, finally recognizing it. Meanwhile, the burners deactivate more eggs, except Roth, who panics despite being immune. Dutch calls him a coward, and when Roth finally acts, the eggs all hatch at once. The mites escape, forcing the burners into pursuit. Following the trail, Mike and Texas reach a ruined building marked with Red's insignia. Mike finally confesses to Texas. When he served Kane, he was ordered to demolish the building but discovered it was full of tenants. Kane knew but lied. Though Mike evacuated the people, their home was destroyed, leaving him ashamed and haunted. Texas encourages Mike to stop dwelling on the past and focus on helping people now. The pep talk lifts Mike's spirits, but Red ambushes them, knocking out Texas and leaving Mike for a one-on-one showdown. Meanwhile, the burners discover the mites devouring Deluxe's bridge cables, while Chuck finally gets sick from overeating Jacob's muffins. Red reveals he spent the past year training and building armor to take Mike down. He blames Mike entirely for losing his home, ignoring Mike's claim that he tried to help the tenants before the destruction. Red swears to ruin Mike's life just as his was ruined. As the mites chew through their cars, Chuck has a desperate idea: make the bugs sick. The burners persuade the Duke to hand over his prized iron block, though he demands a debt in return. Coated with an oxidizing agent, the iron is sent to the bridge by a terrified Roth, who survives the swarming unharmed. During the fight, Mike warns Red that Kane is still exploiting Motorcity, but Red refuses to listen. Mike turns the mites against Red, breaking his armor. Red falls from a cliff, and when Mike tries to save him, he rejects the help, choosing to fall to his presumed death. Back at HQ, Mike finally agrees to celebrate his anniversary, though Jacob still insists on serving awful muffins. In the shadows, Red is revealed alive, and Kane approaches him once again with an offer. The burners are playing a racing game, and Chuck surprises everyone with his skills until a risky trick crashes the game and wrecks Jacob's kitchen. Annoyed, the others doubt his abilities, but Chuck insists he'd perform better in his own car. When he shows it, though, it's a rusting heap. He explains it only needs a rare titanium turbo crankshaft X39. Determined to help, Mike heads out to find the part. Meanwhile, Jacob tries to sell his latest food disaster, ToonRecapz. With no customers, he's desperate to unload them. Texas rolls up in a battered truck and suggests using it as a food truck. The others like the idea, though Texas pushes for lasers. Dutch jokes the old truck is still in better shape than Chuck's car, sparking Chuck's frustration. Just then, Mike returns, dirty but successful, with the missing part. Instead of celebrating, Chuck looks uneasy. On the road back, Duke's limos sideswipe the burners and corner them. He accuses Mike of stealing the part, claiming all Motorcity junkyards are his property. Chuck quickly hands it over, but Mike protests, saying he earned it. The burners push Chuck to stand up for himself, and in the heat of the moment, Mike claims Chuck's car could beat the Duke's. Intrigued, Duke sets a race. His best drivers against Chuck. If the burners win, they gain access to every yard. If not, Duke gets both Chuck's car and Mutt. At the garage, the new part makes Chuck's car roar to life. But privately, Chuck admits to Mike a devastating secret. He can't actually drive. Dutch and Roth proudly unveil Chuck's newly restored car, now dubbed Blonde Thunder, painted blue with yellow lightning bolts. Though impressed, Chuck is terrified, but Mike assures him they can still outsmart the Duke. On race day, Jacob shows up in his food truck to sell ToonRecapz, with the other burners reluctantly helping. Chuck worries their plan hasn't been tested enough. When the race begins, Mike secretly uses a controller to drive Blonde Thunder for Chuck, letting him stay behind the wheel without revealing he can't drive. With Mike's help, Chuck wins the first round. During the second race, Duke's men sabotage Mike, breaking the controller. Forced to rely on himself, Chuck barely manages to secure second place, shocking everyone. Furious, the Duke vows to race personally in the final round. He pressures Chuck, but Texas boldly defends him and bets Stronghorn despite Mike and Chuck's protests. For the last race, Mike's rebuilt controller jams, so he hijacks Jacob's truck and pushes Chuck forward. After sabotaging Duke's drivers, Mike clears the way, but the Duke rockets ahead. Desperate, Chuck performs the Sidewinder move he'd always failed before, barely crossing the finish line first, though Blonde Thunder is totaled. The Duke honors the bet, but seems amused when Mike returns his limo keys. Back at HQ, Chuck thanks Mike, who promises to keep his secret, as long as Chuck keeps practicing and never drives Mutt. Dutch struggles to start a new painting, unhappy with every attempt. Texas barges in, suggesting wild ideas like dragons with laser eyes, but really just wants his bolo bumper finished. Dutch, dissatisfied with the device, hands it over anyway. Before he can return to painting, alarms blare and the burners rush into battle. During the fight, Texas's bolo bumper malfunctions, accidentally tangling Roth instead of the bots. The burners still win, but Dutch fumes as the repairs fall to him. From the wreckage, tiny cubes scatter into Motor City. Back at the garage, Dutch works non-stop as teammates pile on repair requests. Mike steps in, urging him to take a break. Reluctantly, Dutch agrees and heads off with Roth for a short vacation, unaware that green smoke is spreading across the city. Meanwhile, in Deluxe, Kane berates Thule for mishandling his new weapon, party poppers, designed to enslave Motor City. Thule, distracted by the word party, takes things literally. Dutch retreats to the abandoned Central Station and begins painting his story, revealing how he was punished for graffiti in Deluxe before fleeing to Motor City, where he later met Mike and joined the Burners. Days pass, and while Dutch works, the Burners struggle without him. They respond to a distress call that abruptly cuts out. When Dutch decides to return, he finds the garage abandoned and filled with warnings. Security footage shows a shadowy figure, Kane soldiers in hazmat suits, and a frantic Jacob searching for a cure. Masking up, Dutch hears recordings of his friends under attack and rushes out to save them.
Scout team.
Thule sneaks onto a scout team heading into Motor City, barely remembering his hazmat suit and still convinced he's going to a party. Meanwhile, Dutch discovers the Burners' abandoned cars and is chased by zombified citizens until he's tackled by someone in a suit. It's Mike. Relieved but shaken, Dutch listens as Mike explains that the Burners responded to a distress call only to be swarmed by zombies. Separated from the team, Mike blames himself, but Dutch insists none of this adds up.
Hey Jacob, how's that?
Before they can plan, zombies storm the building. The two spot their friends already infected. On the roof, zombie Texas tears Mike's suit. Mike forces Dutch to escape and is consumed, leaving Dutch horrified. Thule stumbles across a horde, mistaking their growls for dancing, and joins in, confusing them.
Yo, Jacob! Is the antidote?
Dutch heads to Jacob's supermarket, only to find Jacob and Roth also infected. Fighting desperately, he discovers the virus is really nanites, robots disabled by magnets.
Anyway, nanites are just tiny machines.
Using this knowledge, he cures Roth. But as the horde closes in, Dutch is infected. He rushes to Central Station, where a giant magnet saves him. Inspired by Texas's dragon idea and his own art, Dutch transforms Sasquatch into a dragon-like machine, scooping up and curing zombies, including the Burners and Thule. The whole city unites to drive Kane's forces back. Furious, Kane rages while Thule brags about the party.
Got your edge back, huh?
At last, Dutch regains his creative spark, ready to paint again, until Texas barges in
Whip this up. Wait for it. Look at it.
with another wild idea. Two kids dressed in medieval costumes stumble on a hidden door during a mock battle. When one goes inside with a glow stick, both are suddenly attacked and dragged away by swarms of tiny robots. Meanwhile, the Burners are hanging out at Antonio's when two colorfully painted vans arrive. Out step Ruby the Darkslayer and Thurman the Magnificent, teenagers in fantasy garb looking for Lord Vanquisher. To everyone's surprise, that's Chuck, who trips on his long cowl and ruins his big reveal. Ruby draws her sword at Texas, and Chuck introduces them as fellow LARPers, live-action role players. Their oracle explains that two members, Sam and Philip, have truly gone missing. Chuck promises to help. The group visits the battlefield, where Chuck explains the rules of LARPing. The Oracle insists they can't win without Chuck and Philip. Ruby and Dutch's team search the Whispering Forest, only to be challenged by a rival player. Julie smooths things over in fantasy speak, learning that Sam and Philip were last seen in the Dungeon of Anguish, actually a nearby basement. Before they can go, robot arms burst from the wall and seize Chuck. Dozens of bots attack, but Mike leaps into action and defeats them all, earning the LARPers' awe. They dub him Mike the Smiling Dragon, and Chuck even gives up his crown in gratitude. Julie notices the bots are marked with very old symbols, so they send photos to Jacob before heading into the tunnel. Unbeknownst to them, the defeated machines begin to repair themselves. In the tunnel, Mike notices Chuck's sour mood and tries to apologize for outshining him, but Chuck admits his crown was never earned fairly. He only beat Mad Dog the Conqueror by tripping and landing a lucky hit. He feels like a fraud. Mike reminds him that leading a team to 48 straight victories proves he's more than a follower, though Chuck isn't convinced. At the dungeon, Thurman and the Oracle hesitate to continue, so Mike asks Texas to guard them. Annoyed, Texas sits out until Thurman tempts him with a discarded battle axe. Bots suddenly attack, chasing everyone inside. Jacob arrives just in time, shouting the command word applesauce, which halts the bots. He explains they're old utility bots he once programmed, later twisted by Kane and the interrogator droid. The bots reveal Sam and Philip were captured, and the interrogator soon awakens. Mike stays behind with Julie and Jacob to rescue the kids, while Chuck leads the others to safety. They build a plan to break through rubble and rally the nervous utility bots. Chuck delivers an inspiring speech, convincing them they're free, not slaves. Inside, Mike frees the boys, but the interrogator corners them. Suddenly, Chuck charges in atop the van, now outfitted with a massive lance. With help from the burners and the bots, Mike weakens the beast, and Chuck finishes it off in heroic style. Mike returns the crown, and the LARPers proudly hail him once again as Lord Vanquisher. With no Kane attacks for weeks, Mike grows restless and over-alert. He even mistakes Jacob's maintenance work for a threat and nearly blasts him with Mutt's weapons. The burners drag him to Antonio's to calm down, but his nerves keep showing, like when a dropped tray makes him spring into action. Just as everyone teases him, a truck drops off a giant tank of toxic waste and speeds away. Mike leaps at the chance for action, ignoring the team's caution and hauling the tank himself. On the road, Chuck calls the refinery, but the man on the line sounds suspiciously scripted. Before they can question it, landmines explode beneath their cars. The shock cracks the tank, and Dutch uses his sonic weapon to detonate the rest ahead. They pull over at a rest stop where Mike brushes off Chuck's warnings about being too hasty. Then Roth discovers tiny cameras planted all over the trailer.
What away gang movies to watch.
Inside the gas station, Dutch and Texas grumble until a local asks Mike for his autograph.
I'm sorry, do you...
The burners look up at the TV and realize they're starring in The Duke of Detroit Presents, the Duke's twisted reality show. Cameras have been on them the whole time. Chuck and Texas are oddly excited, but Mike fumes when a limo arrives showing cartoon images of the Duke. His assistant, Cyborg Dan, demonstrates the danger by melting his own head with the waste, revealing the tank is unstable.
Telling where it'll end up next.
The burners are furious with Mike, blaming his impatience for dragging them into the Duke's deadly game. The road to the refinery becomes a gauntlet of booby traps, with Texas failing to land a good one-liner. The Duke even unveils his massive terror dome, blasting fire and lasers, while Kane's bots join the chaos. Finally, Chuck hacks the feed and Mike directs the burners to destroy the dome, ending the show to the Duke's devastation. At the refinery, Mike declares they're even with the Duke, since he's been trying to kill them all day.
Do nothing.
The burners walk away, ignoring his promise that the show will go on.
Giant head!
Back at HQ, Chuck reveals he saved the footage, thrilling everyone. Texas finally delivers a solid catchphrase, though Mike, exhausted, sleeps through it. With the burners fleeing bots underground, Sasquatch hauling a pod of Deluxe refugees to safety, Texas asks where Julie is, and the scene cuts to Deluxe, where she's attending a statue unveiling in Kane's honor. Mike calls, asking for help, but Julie says she can't leave. Her boss is receiving an award. Mike holds off the bots long enough for everyone to escape. Later at Antonio's, Julie checks in, but Texas angrily calls her out for not showing up. Mike asks her to infiltrate Kane's facilities,
Snoop around to find out.
and she agrees. In Deluxe, Kane reveals his latest invention, the safe T-suit, soon to be mandatory for all citizens.
Sorry, Claire, but I have to do this.
Julie's with her friend Claire, who questions why Julie risks her double life instead of staying safe in Deluxe. Julie admits she let the burners down and needs to fight Kane. When Kane appears, Claire covers for Julie after spotting her burner logo peeking from her bag. Kane gifts them both rings that transform into safe T-suits before leaving. Julie later hacks an information terminal, but alarms trap her in a laser corridor. At the last second, she activates the safe T-suit, which shields her, and she escapes with critical files. Back at HQ, the burners study the bot factory plans Julie stole. Texas mocks her, calling her Miss Deluxe, which stings. Hurt but determined, Julie insists she'll handle the mission herself. Mike follows, urging caution.
Whoa!
But she shows off the safe T-suit and walks away, its glowing red light hinting at hidden dangers. At Kane-Co Tower, Kane is alerted when Julie's safe T-suit activates. Delighted that a burner is wearing it,
Already?
he takes control remotely. In Motorcity, Julie's suit suddenly glows red, forcing her to attack against her will. Horrified, she admits to Mike that she can't stop. Kane directs her to steal Mutt and even tries to make her run over the burners, leaving Chuck shocked that Julie nearly killed them. Kane explains to Thule that he built the override to prevent Deluxe defectors. When a scientist questions the need, Kane snaps that a trickle of rebellion can become a flood and orders Thule to rough him up. Meanwhile, Julie is dragged toward Kane Tower.
Tex, get up front and ride the...
Kane forces her to fight him, even making her punch him.
The next best thing to pummeling that traitorous...
Julie admits her solo mission backfired, while Mike teases that this clearly wasn't her plan. Dutch and Roth try to block Mutt's path, but Kane escalates by activating every safe T-suit in Deluxe, turning civilians into weapons.
Are you playing a video?
With Texas barely steering through swarms of people, amused while Chuck panics.
External control.
Activates, sending her flying onto Stronghorn's windshield. Chuck rushes to save her, and after a crash, her suit overloads and shuts down. Annoyed but safe, Claire unwittingly gives Chuck the clue. Overloading is how to disable Kane's suits. Kane forces Julie to fight Mike in hand-to-hand combat through the safety suit.
You gotta go. It's over.
Julie begs him to leave her, but Mike refuses, saying Motorcity and the burners need her. Near the top of Kane Tower, Julie pins him and nearly blurts out that Kane is her father. But Chuck interrupts with a plan. He explains the suit can be freed by overloading it with damage. Mike rushes Julie into Mutt and ejects her seat into the Enforcer drone factory, where the systems begin overwhelming the suit. Now freed, Julie is left in real danger of being crushed inside. Meanwhile, Kane notices Thule making the controlled civilians dance. Inspired, Kane creates a massive people ball of safe T-suit wearers, rolling it through Motorcity. The burners barely escape, and the ball crashes into Kane's statue before smashing into the drone factory. The explosion destroys the factory and overloads every suit, breaking Kane's control.
Oh, good to see you in one piece.
Julie reunites with the team, earning hugs from Texas, who proudly calls her a true burner. Thule stumbles upon them, but Julie covers by pretending she was captured, and the burners quickly take him down. Later at Antonio's, they watch Kane twist the story on TV,
Hacked into the safety suits for their own sick amusement.
blaming the burners for hijacking the suits. Suddenly, Thule crashes the broadcast,
You know I do what I can.
dancing in a suit thanks to Chuck's hack. The burners laugh it off while Julie privately talks with Claire, who questions her double life. Julie brushes it aside, choosing instead to enjoy the victory with her friends. The burners fight Kane's drones in the Cabler settlement, a village built around the massive tower connecting Motorcity to Deluxe. Mike asks Dutch if the Cablers can activate an anti-bot EM pulse, but Dutch explains it has to be switched back on manually from the 20th level. With Mutt too far down, Mike suggests firing it from one of the Cabler's giant cannons like a projectile, with Chuck inside. Chuck hates the idea, but Julie launches them anyway. They land near the switch, and Chuck angrily demands an apology from Mike before hacking into the system. Before Mike can finish, Kane's strange, red-eyed soldiers ambush them. While Julie urges Chuck to climb and push the switch, he freezes in fear. Mike tricks the soldiers, leaps through an open doorway, and flips the switch himself. The pulse activates, shutting down the bots and the soldiers. Later, Dutch is drawn to a Cabler girl named Tenny, while Texas butts in, trying to impress her. Tenny and her father Brackett thank the burners, explaining Kane's attacks are only getting worse. Mike suggests they relocate, but Dutch refuses, wanting to help defend the settlement. Tenny volunteers too, making Dutch visibly happy. In Deluxe, Kane fumes at his soldiers' failure. He blames his scientist, demanding the fear-blocking boosters be reworked, despite warnings of dangerous side effects. Back at HQ, Texas mocks Chuck by replaying his screams from the mission. Mike tries to soften the blow, but Chuck, humiliated, leaves in shame. At HQ, Chuck beats himself up for being such a coward. While he works on Mutt, Mike tries to check on him,
Of course not.
but Chuck brushes it off. Julie and Claire arrive, and Chuck embarrasses himself trying to greet Claire before running off. Julie hands Mike a new Kaneco booster, explaining it removes fear. Mike dismisses it as dangerous and leaves it in the garage. But Chuck overhears Claire laughing at the video of him screaming and hurt, secretly takes the booster.
Antonio's, why don't you catch a ride with
Texas to Antonio's, Chuck insists on coming along instead. Mike notices his sudden boldness, especially when Chuck urges him to drive faster and shows no fear. At the Cabler village, Dutch shows off new defense turrets with Tenny, impressed by her mechanical skills. Brackett interrupts just as they're bonding, but Chuck shocks everyone by leaping off the platform to recover a dropped tool, something the old Chuck would never dare. Later at Antonio's, Chuck is unusually confident, impressing everyone, including Claire, who agrees to have a drink with him. Julie and Texas find his behavior strange, but Mike believes Chuck is simply growing braver. At the bar,
What's with you today?
Claire questions his sudden change, and right then, the booster wears off. Chuck reverts to his old self, spilling his drink on a large patron who threatens him and harasses Claire. Chuck reactivates the booster and is ready to fight, but Mike stops him and pulls him outside. After the bar incident, Mike confronts Chuck about his reckless behavior. Chuck insists he isn't scared anymore, but Mike tells him fear is natural and sometimes necessary. Kane's forces are attacking the Cabler village. Fueled by the booster, Chuck charges into battle alone, taking on an entire platoon with wild confidence. Mike, Texas, and Julie rush to help Dutch and Tenny, who are pinned down before reaching the defense turret. Together, they activate it, creating a massive shield that fries the bots. But the victory is short-lived as Kane unleashes the towering Magna Grazer, which begins ripping apart the entire settlement. Mike finds Chuck among fallen soldiers and notices the booster. Chuck, consumed by its power, declares he can finally prove himself as a true burner and even attacks Mike.
Always been a real part of the team, and we need...
Mike refuses to fight back, reminding him that real bravery means pushing through fear, something Chuck has always done. His words break through, and Chuck finally removes the booster. Chuck volunteers to disable it manually, admitting he's terrified but willing. Mike fends off soldiers while Chuck deactivates the machine, only to nearly fall with the wreckage. Mike catches him in Mutt just in time. Later, Dutch shares a sweet moment with Tenny, leaving Texas jealous. Brackett thanks the burners, but Mike gives full credit to Chuck. When Chuck screams at being assigned more work, Mike smiles, glad to have his old friend. The burners build a haunted house for Motorcity's kids, but it fails to scare anyone, until the children spot Jacob's teeth and run off screaming. Claire asks about the holiday, and Texas shows her by scaring Chuck. Julie explains Deluxe never had Halloween, since Kane's rules don't allow such fun. When Mike mentions candy, Texas realizes the scaring holiday and the candy holiday are the same and speeds off to collect sweets. Dutch, meanwhile, heads to the Cablers to see Tenny. Her father, Brackett, welcomes him inside, but firmly states he doesn't approve of Dutch dating his daughter, given the dangers of his burner life.
Why I can't let you see me?
Both Dutch and Tenny are stunned. At the same time, Texas munches his candy haul but unknowingly swallows a strange green plant pod. His eyes darken, and he slips into terrifying hallucinations. Back at the Cablers, Tenny argues with her father, insisting she's just spending Halloween with friends. Brackett reluctantly agrees but stresses her safety. Dutch quickly returns with Chuck and Claire to make it look less like a date. Elsewhere, Mike and Julie search for Texas. Julie is ambushed by mysterious attackers who launch a plant pod into her car. She inhales the spores and hallucinates Kane. Mike also faces attackers, Terra dwellers using plant pods, and barely escapes. Lost in the trick-or-treat crowd, he stumbles upon Texas, still trapped in candy-fueled nightmares. Mike drags him into Stronghorn, realizing too late that Julie has also fallen into the Terra's hands. Dutch and Tenny enjoy the Halloween parade until Terras ambush them, nearly knocking Dutch off a ledge before Tenny saves him. He explains who the Terras are. Nearby, Chuck and Claire sit in a house where Chuck worries his story is boring, though Claire laughs despite herself. Their moment is cut short when a pteropod smashes through the window, releasing spores that hit Claire. She begins to hallucinate, while Chuck's shirt shields him. Outside, Dutch and Tenny keep fighting, though Tenny admits her father would be furious if he knew. Meanwhile, Mike finds Julie lost in a drug-like trip, and Texas is no better. He suspects the Terras are distracting them and uses Julie's tracker to follow their movements. At the Motorcity ceiling, he's ambushed and infected by spores himself. The Terra's leader, Kaya, prepares to collapse the keystone and bring Deluxe down with it. Dutch and Tenny, overwhelmed, finally confess the truth to Brackett. The burners, still plagued by hallucinations, struggle while Brackett fights back against the Terras. Dutch joins him with catapults, and Tenny insists on helping too. Being Kane's loyal soldier, breaks free and urges Julie and Texas to do the same. Together, the burners repel the Terras, though Kaya escapes with a warning. Afterward,
Claire, whatever is in your...
Claire breaks free of her illusion when she kisses Chuck, leaving him flustered and her embarrassed. Brackett, impressed by Dutch's courage and care for Tenny, surprises everyone by inviting him to stay for dinner.
There should be one here somewhere.
The burners scour abandoned buildings for a replacement axle for Dutch, who fumes over Kane's bots destroying his old one. To vent, he imagines using Kane as a piñata, with Chuck and Texas gleefully adding their own twisted ideas. Julie, unimpressed, smashes open a door with her boomerang and discovers a hidden cache of pristine vintage cars. Texas faints at the sight, but not before finding Dutch's axle. The Burners debate what to do, and Julie proposes giving the cars to motor citizens to help them escape Kane's control. Before they can act, Kane's bots attack, summoning a massive floating train, the Deluxatrem, that sucks up every car. In Deluxe, Kane celebrates his haul, declaring that without cars, Motorcity loses its freedom. Thule sulks when Kane hands responsibility for the destruction to a new recruit, praised for his initiative. Research confirms Kane intends to burn the cars.
He doesn't let anyone else use it. So if we get him away...
Julie devises a plan to distract him with a father-daughter day, keeping him away from the Deluxatrem long enough for the Burners to steal the cars back. Her act works, and Kane reluctantly agrees to spend the day with her. Meanwhile, the Burners infiltrate the Deluxatrem. Red, now armored and working for Kane, ambushes them. Red gains the advantage until Texas rams him with Stronghorn, though Red shrugs it off. Back in Deluxe, Thule ignores an alert about the Deluxatrem, then smirks. This is his chance to prove initiative and take out the Burners himself.
A big old bonfire.
Julie spends the day with Kane at the athletic club, where she cautiously urges him to show more empathy toward the people of Motorcity and Deluxe. Kane brushes her off,
I just think you could build a better
but when she angrily beats him at tennis, he's impressed by her intensity instead of offended. Meanwhile, on the Deluxatrem,
That incinerator's coming up.
Dutch and Chuck attempt to hijack the controls but are interrupted by Thule, who sends mining bots to bomb the train.
Well,
Red continues his duel with Mike until a blast knocks him off. Mike regroups with Texas, but the navigation controls are destroyed. Instead of steering the tram, Mike decides they should focus on stealing the cars themselves. While augmenting the vehicles, Red returns in his own rebuilt ride, forcing Mike into another high-speed showdown. Later at dinner, Kane shocks Julie by naming her his heir to Deluxe. She resists,
Most of my life to make it.
and just like him.
I've got the army,
Their argument is cut short by the chaos outside as the Burners and bots clash. Julie cleverly relays Kane's turret commands to Mike, allowing the Burners to outmaneuver every defense. Furious, Kane takes over himself but accidentally incinerates the Deluxatrem when he finds it empty. The Burners having already escaped with the cars. Back in Motor City, the Burners distribute the cars to grateful citizens. Even Texas admits Julie's idea was better than his giant shark scheme, though he faints again at the sight of the cars. Julie, unsettled by Kane's praise, surprises him by agreeing to one day take his place. Kane delivers a broadcast from his war pod, praising Deluxe while ignoring the misery of its citizens. His speech is cut short when Mike interrupts, accusing Kane of committing the very crimes he blames the Burners for, and declares a citizen's arrest. Furious, Kane orders retaliation.
You go too far, Chilton.
How's this?
But Chuck hacks into his pod and starts lowering it toward Motor City.
Activate enforcer drones.
Kane breaks free and commands Thule to dock every building in Deluxe, sealing off Motor City until the Burners are captured.
Going off Deluxe. Man, we must have really taken.
Amid collapsing structures, Mike, Dutch, and Chuck are stranded in Deluxe.
Dude, we're trapped in Deluxe.
Enforcer drones chase them, but Chuck uses magnetic clamps to hide Mutt and Whiptail under a bridge.
Without my magic Kane code terminal.
So you.
Julie tries to hack the building systems but fails, asking the trio to lay low. Disguised without their burner gear, they sneak through the city, until Chuck panics and alerts more bots. Splitting up, Dutch slips into an apartment complex while Mike and Chuck are arrested by Claire, who was sent by Julie to help. Dutch reunites with his parents, who welcome him warmly, though his younger brother Dar, now a Kane cadet, rejects him bitterly. His parents reassure Dutch that one day Dar will see through Kane's lies. Meanwhile, Mike struggles to fit their cars inside Claire's sleek pod, testing her patience.
Stand back, Nancy, and watch me blast this thing apart!
Underground, Julie and Texas fail to unlock the docking system, but Jacob uncovers old blueprints of the subterranean power terminal.
Sir?
Shutting it down, he explains, may be the only way to free Motor City.
Hey, who's this?
Mike, Chuck, and Claire hurry to find Dutch so they can regroup. Kane ignores his scientists' warnings about the danger of over-docked buildings, telling Thule to beat one up. Dutch visits his old room, now Dar's, and sees it plastered with Kane posters and their childhood drawings.
We all have to grow up.
He tries to talk to Dar, who says Kane is his idol, showing how brainwashed he has become.
Dutch, we gotta go.
Mike suddenly bursts in, and Dar immediately recognizes him as Deluxe's #1 public enemy. Meanwhile, inside Claire's pod, Chuck flirts with her but is interrupted by power surges flooding Deluxe. Texas and Julie reach the power hub only to find it protected by a force field. Dar realizes Dutch is a burner and sees him protecting civilians, contrary to Kane's propaganda. Dutch is captured by Kane's soldiers, but Dar helps break him free, and the brothers reconcile. They regroup with Chuck and Claire, using Mutt to control the pod, while Kane bots chase them.
Yeah, I am. Oh.
Dutch and Dar head to an access tunnel while Mike provides cover. Dar disables the force field just long enough for Julie to fire into the power hub's core, releasing all the docked buildings and stopping the surges.
No!
Kane is furious. Claire's pod is ruined, but everyone survives. Dutch insists Dar stay in Deluxe to protect their parents and stages a fake kidnapping to fool Kane's soldiers. Back in Motor City, the burners relax.
Hands and whatnot, how about you help me with a new one?
Claire points out her pod is new, Chuck brags about their hug,
You opened his eyes.
and Dutch thanks Mike for helping Dar see the truth. Texas shows off his upgraded Stronghorn cannon. The episode ends with Dar covering all the Kane posters in his room with his and Dutch's old artwork. At the Skylark Motel, the Skylarks are attacked by a mysterious vehicle that shoots explosive purple goo, damaging several cars. Similar attacks happen across the city against other gangs and the Duke of Detroit. Rayon captures a video of the car and, when enhanced, notices a burner logo on the hood. At Antonio's, Julie and Claire arrive. Claire is reluctant to spend the day in Motor City, especially after Texas burps in her face, but later decides to stay when she sees the Amazons. Antonio gives Mike a poorly carved statue of his head just before the burners receive a distress call. Julie checks on Claire,
Okay, let's pack it up.
Yeah, Texas!
who chooses to hang out with the Amazons. The burners find the distress beacon at a mangled car and are confronted by the Duke and several gangs who accuse them of the attacks. Rayon argues for them to be heard.
The burners declared war!
Mike negotiates 24 hours to prove their innocence, with Rayon warning them of consequences if they fail. Back at the garage, Chuck identifies the purple goo as selenium sulfate, a rare compound that explodes when Texas throws it at an engine. The burners track the only local selenium sulfate mine between the Skylarks,
Texas is always right.
The Amazons were the only
Weekend Warriors, and Amazons. Julie suggests investigating the Amazons first. Mike drives Julie into Amazon territory, where she finds Claire with the gang. Julie pretends she's quitting the burners, exciting Claire.
left me to save himself.
Foxy challenges Julie to prove herself before joining.
Repeat everything I say, and you'll be fine.
Meanwhile, Texas, dressed in Skylark gear, is sneaked in by Dutch and Chuck, but their argument over controls is accidentally relayed to a Skylark sentry. Rayon questions him, and Mike arrives to smooth things over and asks about selenium sulfate. At the Amazon track, Foxy explains to Julie that the Amazon cars need more finesse than burner vehicles and sets up an electrical pulse to keep them at top speed. Claire is put in charge of the fire extinguisher.
MG. Isn't this
Julie races Foxy and they tie, and although Foxy still doesn't fully trust her, she allows Julie to stay until Claire leaves. Meanwhile, at Jacob's food truck, the rest of the burners conclude the Skylarks are innocent and plan to investigate the Weekend Warriors. Texas, dressed up once again,
Wow, I am focused. You guys just...
infiltrates the Warriors' camp,
Yeah, but it'll be entertaining.
but ends up following Mike instead. Mike discovers the Weekend Warriors are also innocent, and together they escape, with Julie reporting she found selenium sulfate at the Amazon compound. Inside the Amazon lounge, Julie explains to Claire that she lied about leaving the burners to protect them and because Claire was finally excited about Motor City. They argue briefly, but Claire reassures her that she's still her friend.
the burners? I needed a way in.
Julie and Claire confront Foxy, who confirms the Amazons have a large selenium sulfate supply, but reveal the Duke had bought some from them the previous week. At the Duke's mansion, Mike is captured after discovering a fake burner car with Cyborg Dan inside. The Duke presents Mike to the gangs as the source of their troubles. Mike frees himself, and the burners arrive to expose the imposter cars. Julie and Foxy destroy the selenium sulfate cars, while Claire helps with the fire extinguisher. The gangs, furious at the Duke, chase him away. Rayon affirms Mike's innocence, and Claire declines Foxy's offer to join the Amazons, choosing to stay with Julie as they drive off together. Roth is helping Dutch repair Whiptail when Texas interrupts, sitting on Roth and upsetting him.
Roth! Who's Ralph?
Roth flies around trying to shake Texas off, causing a sandwich to fall onto Whiptail's engine and break it. Dutch furiously scolds Texas for treating Roth with no respect, sparking an argument. Texas doesn't understand why Dutch cares about a robot, and their fight is interrupted by a call from Junior, who taunts Texas about the annual Robo Roundup at Mama's Boys Stadium.
Texas, Denali ain't just a river in Egypt.
Inflamed, Texas promises to beat him.
Checking for jar marks, baby.
At the arena, Junior sets the rules. The winner ropes the most robots.
Oh, I'll bring a robot.
Texas is eliminated immediately and, in frustration, destroys a referee bot.
Who am I kidding? You can't do either.
The Mama's Boys demand reparation, and Texas offers Roth, unaware of how important the bot is to the burners. Back at HQ, Dutch and Mike discover a box labeled Ralph and realize Texas gave Roth away. Dutch angrily confronts Texas, who doesn't understand the significance. Mike insists they return to the arena to rescue Roth. At the stadium, Junior has Roth caged with other bots, including a huge Kane bot that attacks him. Mike and Texas enter the arena, demanding Roth's release, but Junior refuses and offers a box of robot parts instead. The burners are horrified, but Dutch realizes the parts aren't Roth's.
But I swear, Dutch, guys, I'll make it up to you.
Roth memorizes the cage's door code while Junior taunts him, secretly plotting his escape. The burners head to the arena, and Texas notices Dutch's protective attitude toward Roth, making him feel guilty. Chuck finds a sewer for them to sneak in, but an alarm goes off, triggered by Roth himself, who happily reunites with the team and scolds Texas. Roth refuses to leave, locking the burners outside to avoid the Mama's Boys. Texas insists on rescuing him, though Dutch is skeptical. Mike hatches a plan. By keeping Texas in the rodeo, they can lure Roth out. Texas needs a robot to compete, so Mike captures a Kane bot for him to use. At the rodeo, Junior taunts Texas, who becomes nervous until Mike tows in the Kane bot, disabled by Dutch. Texas excels in the first 3 rounds, roping several bots while the other burners take cover. In the final round, contestants can only rope their own bot, but the Mama's Boys release dozens painted like Roth. Roth rescues 2 utility bots and spots Texas. When Texas tries to rope the Enforcer droid for the trophy, he realizes Roth is more important. Junior sends a Kaneco Ultra Golem to stop him, but the Burners arrive to help. Texas apologizes to Roth and asks to be friends, which Roth accepts, moving Texas to tears. The Mama's Boys try to intervene, but Junior is defeated by the utility bots. The Burners head home, giving Texas a handmade Roth cup for remembering who his true friends are. Texas begins calling other objects friends too, raising eyebrows among the team. A mysterious and powerful prisoner makes a daring escape from a Kaneco detention center. They utilize a high-tech device that disables all of Kane's robotic guards, showcasing a level of technology that is a serious threat to Kane's forces. Upon learning of the escape, the Burners, led by Mike Chilton, decide they must find this person before Kane does, hoping to gain a powerful ally. This shared goal leads to a tense and reluctant alliance with the Duke of Detroit, a cunning and self-interested opportunist who also wants to secure the new player for his own gain. The episode becomes a high-stakes race across Motorcity. The Burners and the Duke's crew, despite their mutual distrust, work together to track the fugitive while engaging in battles with Kane's forces, who are in hot pursuit. The race reaches a climax in the Burners finding the escapee, who is revealed to be a woman named Vega.
Looks like I was wrong.
The episode ends on a cliffhanger when Vega reveals a connection to Mike and the Burners' past, a secret that completely changes the stakes and sets the stage for the season finale. Kane launches a full-scale assault on Motorcity,
No problem.
while simultaneously broadcasting propaganda, promising a better life in Detroit Deluxe to those who surrender. The Ultra Elites announce the descent of the Genesis pod, which is intended to transport citizens to Kane City. Meanwhile, the Burners get a crucial advantage.
Get back!
The Duke of Detroit, furious that Kane has betrayed their deal and plans to seize his cars, retaliates by returning the Burners' vehicles.
Much more style!
Enough! You will stand.
Mike's former ally, Julie, is also angered by her father's actions. After failing to convince him not to turn on the Genesis pod in response to the Duke's betrayal, she continues her mission to rescue Mike. To cover up her plans from an approaching Tootle,
The Duke double-crossed us and you let the Burners get...
him while trying to feed him. Back at the Burners' hideout, the team is building a weapon to fight back. Julie warns them about the Genesis pod's activation, almost causing Chuck to reveal a secret about himself before the Duke interrupts. He volunteers to personally drive Chuck's car, the Mutt, to Mike as a form of revenge against Kane. A reluctant Julie is forced to agree and orders Dutch to hand over the keys to the Duke. At the prison, a thrilling fight breaks out between a taunting Red and Mike. The intense battle continues until Mike outsmarts Red by tricking him into using his electro gloves to saw through the laser chains, successfully freeing Mike and knocking Red unconscious. Mike then makes a run for it, and Julie advises him to jump out of the building. As Mike falls, Julie's pod catches him just in time. With their leader back, the Burners and their allies prepare for the final confrontation. After observing Kane's triple security, they finalize their plan and reluctantly name their weapon Bessie. An inspirational speech from Dutch galvanizes all of the Burners' allies to join the fight to save Motorcity. The battle begins, and through a brilliant strategic victory, the Burners and their allies succeed. The episode concludes with Mike, Julie, and the Duke working together to destroy Kane's warpod, though it comes at a cost. The Mutt is sacrificed, exploding to ensure the final victory. So that will be it from us. If you enjoyed the video, let us know which character was your favorite, Also, do not forget to leave us a like and subscribe to our channel for similar content. Thanks for watching. We'll see you at the next one.